Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, a pop artist by the name of Kadence, a fun dad, music enthusiast, organizational freak, and all-around hopeless romantic who is here to talk about not only his latest single, Sign Me Up, but also his crush on a woman who pretty much defined the 80s and 90s and aughts and basically forever. Yes, the one and only Madonna. Kadence, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again.
I'm excited. Your crush is someone I think everybody knows. This is not someone anyone needs to Google.
Exactly.
So your crush on Madonna dates back to when you were a wee boy around 6th grade. You just got your hands on Like a Virgin, and that was it. Would you say that was the day those adolescent hormones started to kick into high gear?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And Madonna in a wedding dress singing a Rolls Royce cover, Love Don't Live Here Anymore. That was the song that I was done.
So for me, at that age, I was definitely being sold sex, but it was more packaged in a boy band form with the likes of Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Right.
So it was a bit more innocent, I'd say, than what Madonna was putting out. Was that part of her appeal, though, for you?
Well, there was this whole intrigue about her, this like sexy, sultry woman in a wedding dress, you know what I mean? But she was pop princess at that time, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and she was, I think, if I look back on her body of work, the first decade of Madonna, there was always some controversy, like having an album titled Like a Virgin was very controversial in the late 80s, but her work got far more controversial in the late 90s, 2000 with Erotica and her sex book and all that. So she, in the beginning, there actually was kind of an innocence. I mean, I didn't see her as, it was definitely innocent crush. And it wasn't all about the sex for like a decade.
So your family had no issues with the sex appeal part because she was still it wasn't the erotica of the 90s.
Right. It wasn't the erotica of the 90s. It was like, cute, material girl, Marilyn Monroe pink dress. And, there was a cuteness. And I find that if you look at any, I could have chosen Christina Aguilera, I could have chosen Britney Spears. They all started the same way too. Genie in a bottle, hit me baby one more time, very cute Catholic school girl, and then when they find their niche and they wind up as fixtures in the pop community, then they start to really explore their sexuality. And I could see that trend with all three of those pop icons.
Even today, I think Katy Perry and a lot of people, Taylor Swift. I don't know if Taylor Swift ever did that though.
And look at Miley Cyrus.
Oh my God. There you go. There we go. Yeah.
From Hannah Montana to 42nd Street.
Oh yeah, she went off the rails. I think a lot of those Disney, maybe it's just like they're so constrained by Mickey Mouse, and then once they get off that contract, they're just like go 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 go.
Isn't it interesting that the same formula has never worked for a man?
That is very true. They can start out whatever they want.
Yeah,
I'm trying
but
to think.
I can't think of like one male artist that pushed sex and sex appeal and sexuality. Like George Michael a little bit, Michael Jackson a little bit, but he was so cute always and innocent. In his persona, and even in the boy bands, I was speaking of boy bands, I was in 2 boy bands, and that at some point or another we would fall apart because somebody would screw up, either wind up on cocaine or wind up breaking the law or something. But yeah, so I was in my New York City days, I was in 2 boy bands, but it was still all about cute boy bandness, But it seems like women seem to have more leeway in flaunting their sexuality. I look at somebody like Adam Lambert, who definitely flaunted his sexuality in the beginning of his career. I think he's very fortunate the way things have went for him, because in the beginning, I don't think it was well received, in the beginning when he made out with that guy on stage and Like, people just weren't ready for a guy to be just so sexual.
Yeah, and he only came in second on American Idol. Maybe that was part of the reason.
Maybe. Yeah, so I guess you want to get back to Madonna. I went on a tangent. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, I'm interested. You were in two boy bands. Like, what
Yes.
was life like in a boy band?
Rehearsal. A couple of shows. A lot of promises. A lot of disappointment. One day we're being signed, the next day we're not. So the name of the first boy band was called Touch, and then the second one was called Crush, and they were fun experiences. But I ultimately found that when you rely on four other human beings to be stable, productive, creative forces, it makes you very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And so after my second attempt at a boy band, I said, that's it. I'm going to go solo. But then I wound up getting married young and having kids young, so now here I am. I took like a decade off from music to work and be a dad. And now that my youngest is 7 years old, I'm ready to pursue my true passion again. So I released my first single a couple months ago called Broken. I'm thankful I have about 162,000 streams. And I just released my second single, Sign Me Up.
You did get married, and I always think like our crushes when we're younger do impact who we eventually wind up with. Would you say who you married shares any type of qualities with Madonna?
Well, it's funny you say that because she used to work at a bank and people used to tell her you look like Madonna.
Whoa, was it meant?
My wife literally looks like she's my ex-wife now, but my best friend. She actually looks like Madonna. It's kind of weird how that happened. I never thought of it either.
Was that like thinking back to it, do you think that's why you originally approached her?
That's probably why I was attracted to her, yeah.
Other than Madonna's like obvious sex appeal, what other things about Madonna has made this crush lasted like well over 2 decades?
Well, she's deeply creative, so it's always something different. And that I admire because, there's tremendous pressure, I would think, when you have success in a certain genre of music and success with a certain kind of track. There's definitely got to be the temptation to keep producing what worked. That saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But Madonna has taken chances musically, and whether it's from like the Bedtime Story album, which had a lot of R&B influence. Then she went and did Evita, as you know, which was Andrew Lloyd Webber. And then if you listen to her last record, Madam X, it's completely. It's Portuguese influenced, Medellin influenced. It's, she's had a flexibility to change up the musical feel of the record. And I think that's kept me interested because I get bored very easy.
Like she's been able to do so much. She's kind of the chameleon everyone says of music. And I think like yourself, you've been in 2 boy bands, you've gone solo, you've taken a break, you've come back, you've kind of channeled that in your own career, having to reinvent yourself. Would you say there's like a definite favorite though of the Madonna eras that sticks out for you? Like your crush was at its height with her?
Oh, my crush was at its height in the 90s. Blonde Ambition. Blonde Ambition, Madonna in bed, singing like a virgin, remixed in a ballad, and then also, her the sex book and the exploration of her, I guess her own bisexuality to a degree. I thought that was hot. And yeah, she's always kept me guessing. But if I have to answer your question, definitively, I would say 90s, I think it was like 1990, her Blonde Ambition tour.
Did you get to go to that?
I did.
Oh, you're so lucky. You got to
I went to her girly show too.
That's so cool. I was just
Yes.
talking to my husband. I was like, yeah, Madonna's like, even today, like she's someone I want to see before I die.
Yeah. Actually, my ex-wife and I, we just went to see Madam X when she was on tour before COVID.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and that was that was in a theater. So it was better, it was so interesting to be in a theater with her rather than be in a stadium or an arena.
Was she on time? I know she's
Totally
infamous.
not. Like 2 hours late. I was exhausted.
Oh my God.
There was like a senior citizen. There was like this older gay couple, and they were precious, but they passed out. They were sleeping.
Oh, they were like, maybe next
These two
time.
sweet little old ladies. They had to be in their 70s. God bless them for showing up for Madonna.
Oh man, and they just like, did they wake up at all?
They were sleeping.
No, not even like a little bit. Not even like
they were sleeping. No, I woke them up when the show started. I'm like,
okay.
It's starting. I'm like, I mean, if I fell asleep and not one Madonna fan woke me up, I would be very pissed off.
Like, I'm gonna set this whole place on fire.
How dare you let me sleep through Madonna?
Oh my God, I can't imagine falling. Well, I could. As I've gotten older, I used to go to concerts like all the time, and with my dad says you're gonna like grow out of that. I'm like, I'm never gonna grow out of it, but I haven't grown out of it, but I will say my back has.
Yes.
I used to be like, I need to be in the front row. I don't know who would buy seats to a concert. Now I'm like looking when I buy tickets. I'm like, are there seats available?
Right. Yeah. And the same thing with that when, once children come into the picture. I mean, I used to go out when I was in New York City and I was on the club scene in New York. I would go out at like 3 a.m.
That's when you would leave the house?
That's when I would leave the house.
Oh my God, no.
I would like take a nice nap from like whatever 11 to 2, then get up, get ready, and go out and be out, all night into the next day. And now that I have kids, it's like, oh my God, when I tuck Hannah in at night at like 8:30, I'm like, I'm done. And it's funny because I think like I'm on such a dad's routine. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how will I adjust to the music industry again if I have to do shows at like 10 p.m. when I'm normally cuddled in bed?
A lot of power naps. You'll have to take a page from those old lesbian couple.
Yes, exactly. So definitely 90s blonde ambition. I was deeply obsessed with Madonna.
So I have to ask, every so often a new pop singer, they stroll into town thinking they can take Madonna's crown. Of course, none of them will ever be able to. I don't think it'll ever happen. But have you ever felt any pop artist sort of getting close to that Madonna iconic status?
I don't know if I'd call her pop, but I think Beyonce is becoming quite a legend. Okay. And yeah, I think I out of like the younger artists that are, very prominent on the scene right now, I think Beyonce has first of all, she's stunning. She's an incredible singer and writer, incredible dancer. Beyonce is a tremendous talent. Mm-hmm. So I would say Beyonce. She's the only one that, and I don't know, no one can ever replace Madonna. Mm-hmm. Because Madonna was a part of a shift of culture. When you think about it, like when I was a child, the LGBTQ community, we couldn't even talk about it when I was a child. Mm-hmm. And even into high school, it was still so taboo. But it's so wonderful to see how humanity is waking up and just simply choosing to accept people and love people for who they are.
It's a beautiful thing. Even in the last 20 years, we've seen so much growth in that community and the acceptance of it in a wide span,
Yes, and I'm obviously a major ally. So, I'm always an ally for anybody who's marginalized. I've been looking out for the underdog my whole life. It's just who I am as a temperament.
It's hard not to cheer for the underdog, like when you watch movies and stuff.
Exactly. So, I think it's in our humanity.
Well, I wish it was in everybody's. A lot
Me
more
too.
Make the world a better place. But would you say that As you've come into your own as an artist, your crush on Madonna has developed into one that's more about crushing on her artistry and longevity. Like, are you taking notes on her career of what you can do in your own?
Yeah, I've definitely, because Madonna has been around for 3 decades, you can really evaluate, you can study her progress and her growth and her success. And it would be, I think, foolish to want to try to copy a certain formula, because the world is so different. The music scene is so different today, even than when, 15 years ago when I was trying to get a deal. The world it's so different. 15 years ago, you had to have a manager, you had to have a demo, you had to get that manager had to have connections with PR, and labels, and had to, there were, in today, you can take your career by the reins. I have a marketing director and I have a publicist, and with the three of our collaboration, I was able to release my first single in the first month at 160,000 streams, and 50,000 people across the world have listened to my song many times, my first single. And that's so empowering to be able to, as the artist, to be able to have some impact on your success, rather than being at the mercy of others doing things for you. But so, if anything, I could say what I've taken most from Madonna is to definitely be true to myself, to be creative, to not be afraid to take a chance, because she's certainly been a risk taker. But I want people to feel sexy when they hear my music. I want them to feel my sexuality, in a sense, but I'm never going to be, that guy that's, well, let me not say something prematurely, because one never knows. But at this point, I don't see myself, I've always been that guy. I'm a shorty. I'm 5'6", blonde hair, blue eyes. I've always been the cute guy. You know what I mean? I've never been the hunk. I'm not tall, dark, or handsome. You know what I mean? So I guess there's a hint and an undertone of sexuality in what I do, for sure, because I think that's being human, but it would certainly never be like at the pinnacle like it is for Madonna and was for Madonna. But I've learned most from her, just to remember the creative process, to be true to yourself, to take chances, to believe in yourself, and certainly to stand strong in the midst of a lot of persecution, because she's taken a lot of flack, for the chances she's taken. She's been demonized by too many. And I actually think, beneath the 300 plus million albums sold and the mega fame that she's achieved, I think she's a wonderful human being.
For sure. I mean, you can't be a bad person, I think, and get that far. You have to be some form of good inside of you.
I mean, I love the work she's doing in Malawi and the hospital she built there, and her, her commitment to give back.
So, you mentioned that you were a 5'6" little cutie. Were you like, when you were in the boy band, where I know they always kind of had labels for each member, where you kind of always put in the baby category, like he's the cute young one?
Yes, I've always been the cute young one. When I was 25, I looked 15. When I was 30, I looked 20. And I guess that's, in a sense, that's a plus. But yes, I was always, and I did musical theater as well. I was in Gypsy, I was in the Red Shoes, I was in West Side Story, productions of it in New York, and I was Baby John in West Side Story. You know what I mean? I mean, so yes, so there is a little bit of a typecasting that comes along with how you appear.
Yeah, I was thinking about what you said about how men don't get pushed to sell sex as much as women. I think it also is like who they're selling to, because a lot of young boys, they have sex on the brain, so maybe that's why the females are getting pushed, these
Right, exactly, because it's very desirable and marketable.
And then for a young girl, you don't want the young girls thinking of sex, so you
Right.
see more romance.
Somebody I think who's had good success in being a male artist and being sexy is Justin Timberlake. I think he's had success. But yet we don't see him naked. We don't see him walking around in a thong on stage.
No, he's like in his suit and tie.
Right. But yet he's been able to bring sexy back.
For sure. Time and time again.
Yes.
One of NSYNC to do so. I'm a Backstreet girl, so I'll have to.
Yes. Everybody rock your body.
Till I die, they're the best. Like NSYNC had the pop, they had the bops, I'll give them that, but they didn't vocalize as well and harmonize as well as Backstreet Boys could.
Yeah, the Backstreet Boys were definitely at the forefront of the boy band. I think they're probably, I'd guess to say they're the top selling boy band of all time.
They are 30 million.
Are they?
Sold. Yep.
Yeah. How many million sold?
30 million. I think to their credit though, like NSYNC only did drop 3 and then a Christmas album. So Backstreet Boys kind of stayed around and had a little more to play with.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, the Backstreet Boys sold 30 million and Madonna has sold over 300 million.
Yeah, or maybe that's more. I don't know. Sorry, Backstreet Boys, if I don't know my little facts about you.
Yeah, well, but I would just say as a consumer and as an artist, it's my opinion that the Backstreet Boys had the greatest prominence in pop culture, in the boy band, in the era of the boy band. NSYNC was huge, but the Backstreet Boys seemed to have that seniority.
Yep, always and forever.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
So in an alternate universe where you could live happily ever after with Madonna, what do you think your lives would be like together?
Oh my God. Oh my God. I think we would be very creative together. I think we would, if given the opportunity to work with her, oh my God, I would love to work with her. But I think it would be a very fun-filled, laughter-filled, creative friendship.
Perhaps she'd do a remix to your latest single, Sign Me Up.
I would love it. I would love to work with her. But, I was thinking about that the other day, like, what would I do if I was ever given the opportunity to work with her? It seems like who can work with Madonna? Well, Justin Timberlake did, Maluma worked with her. And it's like, but very few are given. Britney worked with her. I loved her song with Britney, actually.
I wonder, if you have to reach a certain level so you're not nervous around her, maybe that's when she approaches you, when she feels
my God, I'd have to take a handful of Xanax if I met her.
Would you turn into your 6th grade self if you ever randomly ran into
I would apologize out the ass. I would apologize up. I would say, just give me please 10 minutes to be starstruck, and then maybe I'll be able to relate to you.
I did that one time when I met a celebrity. I apologized before I freaked out.
Oh my God.
It was
this woman was all over my bedroom in high school. There wasn't an inch of my walls that was not covered with her. She was in my locker. She was on my books everywhere. So, I am a devotee for sure.
Do you have any I think when we get older, I still have don't have the posters anymore. I used to have a bag of tacks, thumbtacks, and my Tiger Beat, Backstreet Boy posters all over. But then as I got older, I was I gotta mature the look. So what do I do?
No, I don't. You
don't have any framed posters anywhere?
I don't. I didn't keep anything. You know why? Because we moved so much when I was a child that things just didn't survive the moves. You know what I mean? Oh. And then, yeah, it's sad, but my iTunes music library is filled with her.
Well, that at least you have that.
Yes.
You should
And
get
ultimately, I will
closer.
say it does come, as much as I love her as a person, it does come down to the music and her work, and her music has um, been a constant for me. And I would say her cover of Love Don't Live Here Anymore was what inspired me to sing. The first time I sang was that song.
Was it for like a theater?
Oh no, just in my bedroom.
In your bedroom?
In my bedroom, just when the singer was born.
So let's talk more about your like current music, because you dropped Broken last year.
Yes.
In the year that we shall not will not name it. The chaotic
No,
year. What
I know, right? The COVID year.
what pushed you to release a song in a year that was like so chaotic and wild?
Okay, so I have a friend her name is Jen Furlong. Shout out to her. She's just released a book called Hidden City. It's amazing. She's an actress and an author. And she and I met. We both do Ashtanga yoga. And I'm one of my hobbies is teaching yoga. So I'm a registered yoga teacher as a hobby. And but I practice Ashtanga yoga. So I met her that way. And then, not knowing that she was an actress, and she was a regular on Buffy the Vampire Slayer when she was a kid, and she's done a lot of work, and her son's an actor, and so her son is a dancer, and I was a professional dancer before I turned pro as a singer. So I studied dance in New York City from the age of 14 to 19, and I was a professional ballet dancer. And because I'm a shorty, I could only get cast as the clown, the acrobat, the soloist. I could never get a role because you have to be at least 6 feet tall, which sucks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was at the school of the New York City Ballet, and one day the teacher said, I was going across the floor, killing myself, dancing. And the teacher stopped us and said, that was disgusting. And something hit me in that moment. And in that moment, I looked at the teacher and I said, no, it wasn't. And because I just felt like it was so corrupt. Here I am, 3 teenagers killing ourselves, dancing our hearts out. And that's what you say. It just seemed so wrong to me. It seemed so immoral. So I left. I walked out of the New York City Ballet School and I went out to the fountain and I smoked a cigarette. And I said, it's time to just sing. Because I won't be discriminated against as a singer. I don't have to be 6 feet tall to sing. So that's how, in a sense, the singer was born into being, into pursuing professionally. That's when I recorded my first demo. I was 19 years old when I recorded my first demo in New York City. And wait, but what was your question? I forgot your question already.
Oh, what pushed you to release a song last year? And it was like,
okay. Yes. So Jen, my friend, the author, she, I told her I was just saying, as we got to know each other and became friends, I started teaching her son dance because her son is an actor, and he was in Euphoria, the HBO series. And he's now in, I think it's called Lacey's Story. It's coming out, Lacey's Story. His name is Clark Furlong, amazing kid. But I teach him dance. And as we got to know each other, I let her know. I came out of the closet. I told her I'm a singer, and she's like, so why aren't you singing? And I said, well, I'm a dad and I just stopped. And she's like, well, if it's who you are, you need to do it again. So she encouraged me to sing again. So I started taking piano and voice lessons a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, with Brandon Van Allen, my producer out of Texas, who without him, I would not be here today. And I just started taking piano and voice to see what I had left of a voice, And after about 6 months of voice lessons and piano lessons, we just had a talk one day. And I said, I was so scared to write a song again. I was like, so scared. Do I still have it? Can I still do it? Because, we can be confident in things that we're good at and it not be conceit, and one thing I can do is write it. I know I can write a good song. I have a good voice. I'm not the best singer that's ever graced the planet. I don't care to be the best singer that's ever graced the planet, but I can sing, but I can write. I'm a writer and creative and I can write good songs. So, but I was afraid, it's like it was over a decade since I wrote a song, and so it was intimidating to write a song again. But we wrote Broken together, and I just one thing led to another, and I released it.
Well, now you're on a roll because now you have your other single, Sign Me Up, out. And I think it's like a song you wrote with summer in mind, which I think growing up, loving the 80s and 90s, we know how important a summer anthem is.
Yes.
With that, what summer activity would you say Sign Me Up is perfectly fit for?
With Broken, I released Broken last year, but of course I had no clue what I was doing. Okay, so even though it was released last year, I didn't properly release it until, where are we? We're in June. I didn't properly release it until April. And that's when I began working with Sound Entertainment, Jeremy Ryan and Samantha, as you know, my publicist. Mm-hmm. And so working with them, they were able to release my song properly in April. And then I got the 161,000 streams. And then Sign Me Up. Actually, my producer, he conceived the idea of the song. He wrote the hook, and then I wrote the choruses. He wrote the hook, and I wrote verses. So he presented me with the song, with a hook and the beginning of the music. And I envisioned people getting out again. I miss being able to go out. I love to go out and dance. I love to go out and be social. I love people. And, coming out of this pandemic, it's, that was really just stolen from us completely. We all became hermits.
Yes.
And so I envisioned people having fun again. Like, you see this, from the listener's perspective, you see either this really hot girl or this really hot guy's flyer, and they're playing at a certain club, and you have to go and check them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're building this whole fantasy of hooking up with them, And so that was the fantasy of the song, seeing that dream hottie on a flyer, and then stalking them at their show. And, how am I going to get this person to give me a chance?
Like Madonna, maybe you saw her on a
like Madonna.
And you were like,
but when I was just at Madame X, like before the pandemic in Philadelphia, there's a point when she walks out into the audience. She walks down one aisle, around the back, and down the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so there, at one moment, she was probably 6 feet from me, and my stomach completely dropped. I mean, like you can feel this presence. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Plus, the bodyguards are pretty scary.
Oh.
The security was scary. Coming from 150 pounds, 5'6", soaking wet. You know what I mean?
You're like, all right, I won't run.
The 6'4" bouncer is, quite a spectacle for me. Not bouncer, security guard. But yeah, so yeah, just remembering that moment of my heart sinking in my chest as she's like 6 feet away from me, it's like I can't imagine. Oh, I have to prepare myself if I ever meet this woman. Oh my God, I have to get myself together.
So with a couple of singles out now, are you prepping the world for an album or maybe an EP, LP, like anything like that? Or are you just gonna keep releasing?
I am. So so Sign Me Up is now available on Apple Music. It's available on SoundCloud. Unfortunately, Spotify, this is the second time they've done this to me. They keep putting my music under a different cadence. So when they do that, you have to file for artist separation, and you have to claim your song. So it's like my marketing campaigns won't begin until my song is on my page on Spotify. So, but then we're scheduled to release my next single, "You've Changed the Way I Feel," in July. And then the following single in August, "No Turning Back." So right now the plan is these 4 singles. And while these 4 singles are being released, I would like to record another 4 to 6 songs and have an album, ready to drop in the fall maybe. But, obviously through the releasing of singles, my hope is to reach people and develop a community, you know, and a following, whereby, you know, a record label will see that I have people who are interested in my music, and a record label will take a chance with me.
Have you noticed that becoming a dad and taking that 10-year break has like impacted how you approach writing songs now in any way?
Well, I'm certainly, you know, 10 years raising children, you know, having a child every 2 years for 8 years will change your life. You know, so yes, it has, because I'm certainly, I've gained this experience, you know, of bringing life into the world and having life completely dependent on me, and feeling that love that you feel, you know, for your child, which is a very special love. So before I had children, I didn't have that experience, you know, enmeshed in or immersed into my music. But now it's, you know, you can't, once you're a loving parent, it will reach into every aspect of your life. So I think of course I'm more loving, I'm more patient, I'm more compassionate. If you want to take a course in patience, have a baby. You know,
I'll pass.
Yes. And you know, it's funny, Kendra, I used to tell all my friends I will never get married. And I was the first married out of all my friends.
Oh.
And I used to say, I'm not going to have kids. And I have more kids than any of my friends from high school.
Yeah. They had to
So sometimes we're not really aware of the blueprint.
Well, parenting, it sounds like a wild ride, but I don't think, like we said, it wasn't as wild as what 2020 was. And I think for me, the most disheartening thing was to see, like, as a music fan, was to see like the musicians struggle because they couldn't perform, and to see venues shutting doors.
So sad.
That I think, like, even when you look at the flu of 1912, then came the Roaring 20s. After a big tragedy, there is like this resurgence of art and appreciation of it. So moving forward, do you think like we're gonna see this big boom of creativity?
I do, and I hope to be a part of it. You know, and I certainly hope to inspire anybody who's similar to me. You know, falling in love at, you know, in my early 20s threw a curveball at me, and getting married. I dated my wife for 2 months, and then we were engaged.
Oh,
and
wow.
8 months later we were married. You know, and so, like, I will certainly hope that if I reach one person who has a dream and they laid it down in service of their family, you know, or in service of something else, if I can inspire one person to pick their dream back up, then I would feel pretty good about myself, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think that, and I hope that to be a mantra of my career in music. Should I gain the influence I hope to have one day, you know, I would want to inspire people to truly be themselves, and it's never too late. You know, and I look at artists like, you know, Bonnie Raitt. You know, Bonnie Raitt didn't have a record deal until her mid-40s.
Really?
You know, yeah. And look at Susan Boyle.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't discovered till she was 46 years old. You know, so I think we're in a generation that we're tearing down all these stereotypes. You know, we're tearing down the homophobia. We're tearing down racism. People are just not tolerating it anymore. You know, and I think we need to tear down ageism. Look at somebody like Cher. She's 74 years old and kicking ass.
Oh, she's my mom's favorite.
Is she?
Yeah, my mom is like obsessed with Cher. She used to look like her back in the 70s before my older brother came into the picture.
Yeah, and I adore Cher, and I'm not like, you know, I don't, how do I put it? I admire her, even though I'm technically not a fan.
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think she was too far before my life, for me to ever build a connection with her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and but you know, I love her movies. I think she's an amazing actress and just an incredible talent. But look at her at 74; she's kicking ass.
She's still amazing. Even though I think on Twitter she
Can I
needs
say
to
that
take the
word on
caps
this? I'm
lock.
sorry if that was a no.
Oh, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, great.
Yeah, her Twitter, but if she could take the caps lock off, that'd be nice. It's a little weird. All caps all the time, Cher. Calm it down.
Why? I know, right?
It's so weird to me to do caps lock and everything. It's like you're yelling. It's just from
I will be interested. I will be very interested to see where Madonna goes from here.
Oh.
Because her Madame X tour came to an end because of COVID. And, to release an album and for this to be this was her first studio album in 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
to release a studio album, and it's kind of, I don't want to call it a comeback because it's not like she went anywhere, but when you take a 4-year break from producing an album, and then you release, an album of, I don't know, I think it's like 16 tracks of new music, you expect to have a world to be able to present it to, and that world was taken away from her by COVID,
She probably has something in the works.
Oh, she's got something in the works. We know that for sure. I'd just be interested to see what it's going to be. I can't even envision what her next album is.
Yeah, because things are starting to get back to normal. Things are normalizing. We got the vaccine. I see people out at concerts again. Will you be performing anytime soon? Maybe in the next couple months with all these new singles rolling out?
Well, that's the hope. I'll be talking with Jeremy Ryan, who's my marketing guy of Sound Entertainment, and trying to, I want to definitely book some shows. But we'll have to see, I do pop music and again, dance is a big part of what I do. So, for me, it would require, I need to pay dancers and I need to have a show. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I'm certainly willing to do that. It's just a matter of, finding the right, reliable, and yet, my vision is so big for what I would want to do, how I would want to present Broken, mm-hmm. how I would want to present Sign Me Up. There's definitely going to be, I'm going to need the assistance of probably either investors or a label to do what I have a vision to do. And, to fully showcase me as a pop artist and a singer and a dancer. So it's in the womb, if you will, right now, of how and when, because I'm not a band, I'm a solo artist, mm-hmm. I guess the club scene would be a place that I would gig, but the club scene has to reopen. And the club scene is, I don't know how it is out on the West Coast, but, we don't have any clubs open here in DC yet.
I think I just saw that we have this one called Club 90s. It's just like at a little venue, and this couple, they put it on, but he just like DJs 90s songs. That's about it. That's just reopened? Yeah, they had Olivia Rodrigo night. So it's not always 90s music. Sometimes they'll have like a Taylor Swift night or a High School Musical night. But when it's strictly Club 90s is when it's best.
That sounds like fun.
It's really fun, but a lot, like, I'm of the age where it's like 90s is my music,
Yes,
and then,
me too.
Right
90s is my music.
And now, like, the people that are going, it's like they grew up more Hannah Montana. That's their scene, so they're a lot younger than me. So now when I go, I feel like geriatric. I'm like, oh, man, I can't keep up. I'm trying to, like, get down to Britney, and these kids doing their TikTok dance routines, and I'm just, 90s, you just kind of groove to the music. They got, I'm like, all right. But yeah, I miss it. I miss it so much. Can't wait to get back. So while these plans are in the womb marinating, can you tell people where they can find you online?
Kadence13.com is my website. So it's KADENCE 13.com. That's my website. I'm going to be updating it probably tomorrow with, because I've done in the last month, I've done about 10 articles and podcasts, and so I'm going to be adding those things, and my singles are also available there. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and I'm on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So if anyone searches Kadence Music 2021, they should find me.
Kadence Music 21. All right. Kadence, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today about your 80s crush. And everyone, you can find all of Kadence's information below. And until next time, keep crushing it.